It's great to be back and wonderful to receive the gift once again of praying with all of you. Now, in the first reading today, Job had been a very wealthy man. He had everything. And I think you know the story. The devil made a bet with God that if Job lost everything, he would also lose his faith. So Job lost everything. And here we see him in the state that he was after he lost everything. And what was he doing? He was whining. Today's first reading is all about whining. And that's a very important thing. Because what goes on in families? People look at what they don't have rather than what they do have, and they whine. People whine. What happens at work? Employees whine about the boss. And then the bosses get together and they whine about the employees. And in the parish, the people whine about the priest. And the priest says, "Don't whine about me, whine about the bishop." Some do. Certainly not Monsignor Holmes. And priests do whine about the bishop. And when the bishops get together, boy, do they ever whine about the priests. So whining is the very stuff of our contemporary culture, because the human heart somehow fixes on what's wrong or what I don't have. And they have to whine. Job whined. He whined up a storm. But he didn't lose his faith. And in the end, he got all of his wealth back. What changed? He saw who he really was before God. Someone who deserved nothing. He's whining to the Lord about all that is wrong, and eventually the Lord thunders back. If you want to know the reason for what I do or what I allow, first, let me ask you some questions. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Did I consult you about the size of the bin to store the snow? God was taunting Job. He said, "Tell me if you know." Where were you? Job got the message that he was a nothing, that he was entitled to nothing. He repented in dust and ashes, and he got everything back. If we realize that apart from God, we are and can do nothing, if we get back to that, then we don't whine. We only whine when we focus on what we don't have and somehow think we have a right to what we don't have. And that's another big theme in our culture. If somebody wants something, the next thing they do is put together a group to demonstrate that they have a right to it. That's why there's so much whining in our culture. Even at the highest political levels. Both Democrats and Republicans do a lot of whining, focusing on what we don't have. And just under the surface lies the conviction that we have a right to what we don't have. We're entitled to it. And that makes us whine all the more. Job said, "What I didn't understand before, namely, Lord, that apart from you I am and can do nothing, when I didn't understand that, I whined. Now I see and I repent in dust and ashes." That needs to be the story of each one of us, and that desperately needs to be the story of our culture. In our culture, people think that they have a right to everything they want. Any sense of personal responsibility is cast aside. If I want it, I have a right to it. Look at the freedom of Jesus in the gospel, which is the freedom that Jesus wanted Job to have and the freedom that he wants us to have. Look at the freedom in the gospel. What is Jesus doing? Sitting around whining? He's preaching. He's healing the sick. He's casting out demons. He's doing evangelization. He has no time to whine. Let's you and I be just like Jesus in the gospel, rather than like Job in his whining days. Praise be Jesus Christ.